From the moment of birth, brain development relies on constant and vast sensory input and response to make connections. Human development occurs in a three-dimensional interactive world. Brain maturity occurs in later years, but in the years during the formation of these connections, providing young children with constant and vast sensory input is vital. Screen media experiences do not replicate sensory input and can alter vital brain function during the formative years. From infancy through adulthood, connections and pathways and information speed through the brain in response to sensory information from sight, sound, touch, smell, motion response, and reaction. When infants wiggle or grasp, or toddlers engage in one activity right into another, brain activity is stimulated. The four regions of the brain are taking in, processing, retrieving, sharing, and storing information with the others. With every interplay, new knowledge is being formed and stored. Input from all regions are needed to process the multisensory information being received. The problem with screen time is that media devices are void of most sensory input. Yes, activity is occurring on the screen that children respond to and interact with, but due to its two-dimensional property, only a small portion of the brain's functions are required to process the information. The other regions of the brain are left without any sensory input to process. They are not called upon. And as we know, connections and synapses within the brain that are not used are discarded. This is where malformation of brain development occurs. Research is now qualifying that deficit behaviors among children exposed to hours of excessive screen time are directly related to the lack of informational exchanges in the child's young brain. Brain scans now reveal that exposure to excessive screen time in the formative years is altering the formation of brain matter volume. Areas affected include the important frontal lobe, which governs executive functions such as planning, prioritizing, organizing, and impulse control. Excessive screen time can impact brain function, resulting in children who are impulsive, moody, and can't pay attention. But you may say they are fully attentive to the screen device. Yes, because the part of their brain which is hyperactivated by the device is engaged. But when the whole brain needs to be activated to attend to other behaviors, full access to these regions is not available due to the discarded connection. Fine motor development is impaired since there are no objects to manipulate. It takes hours a day, every day, for infants, toddlers, and young children to develop a full range of fine motor skills. Time spent on a screen device halts this process. Sensory motor development includes the motion of air muscle in a young child and the brain's processing of information taken in at the occurrence of every movement. Balance, spatial awareness, body control. Again, these skills take hours a day to develop. Screen time not only steals valuable opportunities for proficiency, the sedentary motion of the child's body during screen time causes the brain to divert its focus from what it is prompting the child to do, which is move, leaving the brain unable to fulfill its natural function. Finally, impact screen time has on obesity in young children goes beyond the simple act of physical inactivity. What research now knows is that as a result of alterations in brain activity and processing caused by screen device use, the body's natural chemical function is altered to meet the fight or flight syndrome the brain is translating from the adrenaline-inducing activity on the screen, causing the body to change the way it burns calories and stores fat for a perceived need later. Screen time doesn't provide meaningful social exchanges among children. It decreases face-to-face engagement with other human beings, which is the foundation of social learning and emotional development. Children who use screen time in pairs are not engaged in interpersonal social exchanges with one another. Their focus, concentration, and retrieval of information is still centered on the inanimate object of the screen, no matter how animated the image projected on may be. Not only is ample opportunity for social interplay diminished, children overloaded by screen time have a diminished capacity to process social cues and manage their emotions. Social and emotional development occurs as infants and young children interact with parents and others. Mirroring facial expressions, back and forth verbal and facial exchanges, constant feedback from responsive parents and other infants and young children are the building blocks of social and emotional learning. Having parents who are mentally present and responsive to young children is essential. Research has now seen a deficit in social and emotional understanding and context as a result of parents giving attention to their own screen devices. Hours a day have been removed from young children's family social experiences. This is referred to as parental neglect or absenteeism, even when the parent is never out of the child's reach. The final aspect of screen time I want to share is that of the now known chemical response of dopamine in the brain during the activity of screen time. When a young child is playing a game to win a race or obtain a token through mastering a maze, these types of activities release dopamine in the brain. This is now being identified as the reason young children throw tantrums when they are removed from their screen time. Often referred to as screen rage, they are reacting to substance dependency on the chemicals produced by screen time. Like substances, it is not guaranteed to occur in all children, but the risk is great and the occurrence is frequent enough to cause alarm for all parents and educators. It is not reason enough that our children love their screen time. We bear the responsibility to keep them safe by making adult decisions based on adult reasoning, to place proper restrictions on the exposure our young children have to screen time and digital media. We can support healthy young child development by restricting screen time in young children by following NAEYC and the American Academy of Pediatrics recommendations for screen time in young children. We can increase parental awareness of screen time and its effects on young children.